the participants and you, so that you can also make use of this. And if agreed, we can also share these PPTs which has been sent by the speakers and panelists. So that way, I would say that we will be on that. And you can see the timeline, and I request all speakers and panelists to observe the timeline, which I already have written to them, but we need to talk about that. And please be careful in taking time, because idea is here for more discussion rather than anything else. So with this, I invite now Mr. Pant. Mr. Pant, have you joined? Mr. Pant, yes, you have joined now. So I will suggest that I will take up your presentation, which is from Ministry. This is here, and I would like to push it here. So, Mr. Pant, are you able to hear? Mr. Pant? Mr. Pant? Mr. Pant?
आई थिंक उनका म्यूट में होगा।
नहीं, म्यूट में नहीं है इनका, तो म्यूट में नहीं है। जो दिख रहा तो मुझे म्यूट तो नहीं दिखाई दे रहा। पंत साहब अपना वो बढ़ाइए, कुछ वॉल्यूम वगैरह।
हाँ,
आप आवाज आई आपकी। और आप देखिए, वो आप शेयर कर, आप मुझसे वो रिमोट कंट्रोल मांग सकते हैं पीपीटी का, अदरवाइज आई विल मूव। पंत साहब बोलिए। पंत साहब बोलिए, नहीं तो फिर मैं अभी फिर आप ही को सेट करिए, नहीं फिर मैं रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ साथ साथ से। पंत साहब, पंत साहब फिर मैं इसको रोकता हूँ, फिर मैं उस साहब से कहता हूँ, चिंतन साहब से।
नहीं तो ये रन कर देते, तुम पीपीटी नहीं रन कर सकते थे?
तो बोले तो सही वो। हाँ पंत साहब, आपको आवाज भी नहीं आ रही आपकी। तो ऐसा करो आप, मैं इसी से करता हूँ, इसी से कराता हूँ आपको। मैं जोर से बुला रहा हूँ, आप बोलिए, मैं यहाँ पे स्पीकर करा रहा हूँ, ठीक है? हाँ जी बोलिए। एक मिनट मैं शेयर कर लेता हूँ आपकी स्क्रीन। कहाँ गई है? प्रेजेंटेशन में कर रहा हूँ, मैं खोल रहा हूँ प्रेजेंटेशन, तो पहले खुला हुआ रखा था पहले से ही आपका, और ये है। ये है। हाँ जी बोलिए, जोर से बोलिए पर पंत साहब।
First of all, let me thank Professor Arun Kumar for organizing this conference at this crucial juncture. And as you might already have observed that hydro had played a very crucial role yesterday evening at 9 o'clock when there was a dip of 31,000 megawatt in the demand, and hydro could manage to deal with it from 8:45 p.m. to 10:10 p.m. So that's what the hydro did yesterday, and that is itself is a thing to recognize that hydro has its own role in all the critical times. But moreover, as you see that 6% of the total renewable capacity comes from hydro, but
double dip growth of the renewables.
हाँ जी बोलिए।
हाँ हेलो
हाँ जी बोलते बोलते रहिए।
हाँ आगे आगे बढ़ाइए स्लाइड को।
ओके।
नहीं मेगावाट पर्सपेक्टिव से ना सर, मिनिस्टर तो मेगावाट में ही बोलेगी।
Yeah. So you all know the background and all that. I think we should go ahead. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is what the small hydro scenario in our country. Next slide, please. So the total potential which was assessed by HRED IIT Roorkee is 21,000 megawatt, and as on February 29th, we had 4683 megawatt, which is hardly 21% of the total potential. And as per the report available with us, 107 projects of 517 megawatt are at various stages of implementation. And we have to achieve 5 gigawatt, so 5,000 megawatt by 2022, which we presume that we would be able to achieve by latest by 2021. In fact, I was expecting that we would be able to achieve this 5,000 megawatt by December 2020, but it seems to be not possible. But by 2021, it would be possible. And as far as the perspective plan is concerned, of 225 gigawatt by 2025 March. The small hydro is expected to get a cumulative capacity of 7,000 megawatt. So that's what the perspective plan of SHP as far as Government of India is concerned, and overall renewable energy scenario. Next. So this is the total potential of 7,134 megawatt in different states. Next week. So while there is a potential of 21,000 megawatt, we have achieved hardly 21% of that. And the reason behind that are the challenges. And all the panelists and as well as the audience, they all are aware of all the challenges. The major challenge is basically the clearances, and particularly the forest clearance, and cost, ever increasing cost of small hydro, being the civil construction, it's around 60 to 70% of the total cost of the project, and the cost of that is not likely to be coming down. So, as far as the cost might be concerned, it would remain like that. Then, in the potential area, particularly in Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, and Arunachal Pradesh, and part of Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, it's the season basically. We don't get the whole year, actually 365 working days, and that's why the gestation period of the project becomes quite high. So in all these scenarios, there are certain concerns. So what should be the role of central government? And there are definitely the contradictory policies. While the central government has been providing a little bit financial support, I won't say it's significant, but whatever it is, that support has played definitely a great role in promotion of small hydro. And we have been achieving something around 150 megawatt every year. So the contradictory policy is, while the central government has been supporting it by giving certain financial assistance, the states have been charging certain amount, particularly the pre-power and LADA. So these two are the contradictory things. And then there was also an absence of the competition in this sector, and quality of supporting work and the DPR. The DPR, practically what we have observed, that are mostly the copy-paste sort of thing in nature. And whether the really the proposed detailed survey and investigation is being done, that needs to be seen actually. And the long time taken in the approvals, some NPA issues are also there. So I don't think these NPAs are NPAs, because they are issue-based NPAs. But definitely the NPA plays actually in not having the financial institution coming forward to support this sector. So the ministry has tried to address some of these issues in its proposed scheme, which is still under process. Unfortunately, for last 3 years, there is no SHP scheme. Whatever expenditure the ministry has been doing, these are for the old projects which have commenced before 31st March 2017. And from 1st April 2017, there is no SHP program scheme to support, and that is still under formation or formulation stage. Yeah, next week.
Thanks.
So that's what it is. The major point of the proposed scheme is that the government and the private sector projects are to be considered at par as far as the central financial assistance is concerned. And the state government is supposed to take a proactive action by way of preparing the DPR and keeping a self-project ready by doing proper DSI and DPR activities and assisting and getting the clearances so that the developers come forward and straight away start working once allocated the projects. So that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pant, for Advisor MNRE for starting and giving the insight of small hydro sector from at the Government of India level. Now I invite Mr. Chintan Shah. Mr. Chintan Shah to speak and then present it as his thought on this particular, especially financial part of it. Mr. Chintan Shah is a Director Technical of IREDA, our financial arm of our. So here, over to Mr. Chintan Shah.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
I hope.
Yes.
Audible,
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we can thank you, Professor Arun Kumar, for organizing this webinar, because in the lockdown period, I think this is the best way to come together and share whatever knowledge people have, so that it's good for the sector. Sir, can we just straight away shift to the third slide?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I think right, sir. I think that today's webinar is very important. Apart from discussing generally about hydro sector, we should more importantly talk about what sort of impact COVID-19 would have on the small hydro in terms of under construction project as well as operational project. And I'll rather come in the last to talk about general hydro sector, what needs to be done in the future. Now, one thing is very clear: because of the COVID-19, there's going to be a liability pressure on various stakeholders. The stakeholders can be banker, it can be equity investors, it can be developers, it can be distribution companies, but there's going to be a liability creation. And but particularly from the bankers' perspective, since there is a 3 months moratorium allowed by RBI, various banks and NBFCs would pass this benefit to the generator. As far as IREDA is concerned, IREDA has already brought out the policy for moratorium, when people can exercise if they deem fit. Similarly, other banks have also brought out this policy. That means from the banker's perspective, the assets earning will be skewed. In the next 3 months, IREDA type of institution may not have any income, because people would be exercising this moratorium. The reason being that there is already an advisory from Ministry of Power allowing distribution companies to exercise a moratorium for paying off to generators. Now, that needs to be seen how the distribution companies are going to handle this. But we assume if the MOP advisory is taken seriously. So you want me to start the video? I think
both. You can show your face also.
Okay, fine.
I don't know whether it will work or not, but let us see.
Yeah. So in order to, if the MOP advice is taken seriously by various discoms, they will not be paying money to the generating companies, and generating company in turn cannot pay money to the banker. So there's going to be a liquidity pressure for most of the bankers. So and this is going to be a different type of challenge from the banking sector in terms of how the bankers will mitigate to this. Most of the bankers may not give you disbursement, committed disbursement for the next 3 months because there is no income for the banker. And this is not the right time to borrow money for most of the private NBFCs and private banks. So I did some ballpark calculation. What is the impact of COVID-19 on hydro sector? If you have an operational project, although the moratorium is set for 3 months, I personally feel that it will require at least for 6 months. The RBI circular on moratorium is essentially targeting the retail segment. So it's like one rule fits all policy. And in retail segment, what happens is you have monthly payout in terms of an EMI, which has a principal payout as well as interest payout. But in infra, most of the time you have a 3-month principal payout, not a monthly payout. So if you're going by the logic of 3 EMI moratorium granted by RBI for retail financing, one should look at 3 EQIs, equated installments for infrastructure. That means 9 months is required. I would say at least 6 months is bare minimum required. And one of the reason is the billing cycle itself. Like for example, if you have generated an invoice in the month of December, which is to be paid off by the DISCOM in the month of March, and if the DISCOM is exercising moratorium, that means you will not give your payout for December money in March. That means you might become an NPA. So this is another challenge of the infra sector, which is not true for retail financing. And we've been also seeing various documents floated by various distribution company for exercising of force majeure conditions. Punjab is one such case, and Madhya Pradesh is there, Telangana is there, AP is there, and you might have other states also. The reason being that the consumption has dipped, and most of the thermal units are at technical minimum. So obviously, for the grid safety perspective, certain projects may be disconnected from the grid in terms of there will be a force curtailment for technical reasons. Now, this is going to be a permanent loss. I would say that a force measure will be within 1 month. It will come back to normalcy once the lockdown is done over, and the consumption goes up. On the under construction project, there's a major challenge. Yeah, for the operational projects, it's 3 to 6 months of moratorium. Spent amounts about 3 to 7% of project cost in hydro, depending on the cost of the project. The hydro projects, small hydro projects can range from 8 crores to as high as 14 crores a megawatt, depending on where it is put up. So, which comes to about 3 to 7% of project cost would be getting built up as I would say FITL, funded interest term loan, because of a moratorium. And on the under construction project, sir, I think
sorry,
we need to
I'm
go back
sorry.
to this.
I'm sorry.
Under construction project, what has happened is any under construction project would require massive labors. Now, these labors unfortunately have gone back to their home state, and when they will come back is a question. Even if they come back after 2 months, the monsoon will start in India. Yeah, hello.
Yes.
I got disconnected for some time.
No, you're back. No problem. Please continue.
Yeah, I can't see my slide also.
Okay, so I will redo that. I will redo that.
Yeah, so I'll just continue till you come with the slides.
Yes.
So what may happen is under construction project would build up IDC. This IDC may range from 6 to 9 months, which also tend to amount to about 4 to 8% of the project cost. Now, this is a real project cost built up, because IDC would be then capitalized on the books of the project. And I was speaking before the seminar started, speaking to Anand Kumarji also, Chairman GERC, that various proposals may come to the commission for additional compensatory tariff, because this is a genuine IDC which is getting built up, not because of project inefficiency, because of a force majeure activity. Sir, are we able to pull out the PPT, sir?
Yes, one place. Locating where it is here.
Can I share my slide? Okay, can I share my screen?
No, you can do that also. Yes, if it is open there, please do that.
Yeah, it's open. I can share my screen.
Yes.
You have to allow me. You have to allow me to.
Okay. I have to allow you, or you can do that yourself.
Sir, you being the moderator, it's only in the hands of. You have to make me co-host. If I have a co-host, I can do it.
Okay, that I don't know how to do that.
No problem.
So,
You just
Sorry.
You can select on me.
Oh yeah, where is your
and
slide? I hate to see where are you now?
Either you share your screen or I can share my screen.
No, I can share my screen, but your slide should be open. Your slide is where it has gone.
Otherwise, you make me co-host. I can share my slides.
Okay. ये तो कुछ और आ गया. Where to make the co-host? I don't know where to make the co-host. Is it
Doesn't
here?
matter. So it doesn't matter.
Okay, here. Make co-host. Yes, I done that.
You've done that, sir? Wonderful,
Yes,
sir.
now I done that.
Okay. Now I have to see where I have to.
Normally it should have been here. I don't know why it's not. I opened it before.
Technology challenges, huh, sir?
No, actually, it's not. I mean, not used to. First time we are using it. So something, and I'm trying to see somebody writing chats also in between. So for that reason, I'm trying to do that. But anyway, this is.
I think, sir, आपने मुझे co-host नहीं बनाया. It doesn't matter. मैं continue कर लेता हूँ.
Okay, नहीं होगा. एक सेकंड करूँगा जरूर. ऐसा कैसे होगा? नहीं होगा तो.
Yeah, and one of the reason under construction project may take 6 to 9 months is even if the laborers come back, there is currently a lockdown also in the cement industry as well as steel industry. So the entire supply chain to be recreated will take 6 to 9 months altogether. So 4 to 8% of the project cost I have guesstimated for hydro. This is a purely hydro numbers. Huh? The wind and solar number will be quite different. And what I was talking with Shri Anand Kumarji, what may happen, what may be done on the lines of RBI. Now, there is a Ministry of Finance directive or a circular that COVID-19 is an act of God and it's a force majeure activity. And every regulator, sectoral regulator, would have to bring out its own policy. And in case of banks, RBI has brought out a policy of 3 months moratorium. Similarly, regulatory commission might have to also come out with an overall formula for under construction project, either which are bidded or through a feed-in tariff. This is a real IDC which is getting built up, and give a formula, give a directive, so that various agencies at a state level or a central level can look into these numbers and apply the same formula and come to a bilateral nature of a contract of the additional compensatory tariff, which will be much easier. Otherwise, going in the merit of individual cases is going to be a massive exercise, which I think the regulator should not get into. Like even in RBI also, they're not getting into individual merit. They're giving over a broad policy framework. This is my policy framework of moratorium. You may exercise, you may not. Similarly, a regulatory commission will also come with a suo motu, I would say, paper for capitalizing of IDC cost as well as FITL cost, and to convert into either an additional compensatory tariff or a one-time payment by the.
Mr. Shah, this slide is okay, which is right now being projected.
Sir, ये शायद आप आगे चले गए, sir.
Okay, go ahead. That's okay.
You can come back.
Yes.
Yeah. Now coming as I was talking, one was the under construction project and the operational project. We come to the issues related to RBI circular and moratorium. Now one thing is very clear. As I was mentioning, RBI circular is one rule fits all policy, which is mostly for retail loans. Now at this juncture, the circular which is brought out by RBI is of advisory nature. It is not compulsory for all banks and FIs to follow. However, I think probably we are the only FI to follow the circular right now. Other FIs are yet to bring out their policy, or they would see how things fare out. And banks and FIs have to have their board approved policy to follow the RBI circular. Like we had a board meeting and we adopted the circular of RBI. However, the circular does not allow any use before 1st March 2020 to be covered. Now, this is something where it's very tricky for the infra sector. As I was mentioning, because of a 90-day or a 180-day billing cycle, this may tantamount to creation of NPA for practically all projects, because the December dues are supposed to be paid off by the discounts in March, and because the money will not come in March because of the moratorium exercise by distribution companies, you will have a problem, and all these dues are before 1st March. So this is something which we also represent the matter to the RBI, and I firmly believe that RBI within a month or so would come with a sectoral relaxation, essentially for infra. This is more of an infra problem. Next, please, sir. Yeah. as I was trying to, again, this I have already mentioned before, we are on a 90-day accounting period, all infra projects, where you have monthly interest and quarterly payout. That's the reason I was arguing for a 6 months moratorium. And we have been seeing this MOP advisories already. People, discoms have started exercising moratorium of invoices. Unfortunately, of September and December also. This is something which is very, very tricky. And third thing is, in the forced measure, we don't have to worry much because they are temporary in nature. So yes, it's a permanent loss, but this permanent loss will be another for a month or so. And I think that's the amount of hit the developer would have to take in terms of lowering of equity returns. Next step. Yeah, thanks a lot. And as I was mentioning over here, what we have done at IREDA has done two things. We have adapted the moratorium policy of RBI, modified it to suit to renewable energy, where any generator can exercise moratorium from 1st March till 31st May. That's a time period. For example, if you got money available today in your TRA account, pay the money today too, no problem. But if you want to exercise the moratorium on 1st of May, I'll allow the moratorium to be exercised on 1st of May for another 90 days. So that's a flexibility we have given to our borrower. The whole idea is that you have to exercise before 31st May. If you don't exercise till 31st May, then definitely there's going to be a problem. And the second thing is, we also feel that there's going to be a major liquidity pressure on most of the RE projects. So we already have a top-up loan policy, which we have relaxed for our set of borrowers. So people can borrow up to 10% of the outstanding from us to widow the liquidity crisis that may arise because of COVID-19. Obviously, you have to do an appraisal on a case-to-case basis where this money is going to be utilized, essentially only for the project purpose.
And then there is a question somewhere, though I would have to take a later question later, but it says, will IREDA be reducing interest rates? Some question came in between.
Sir, first of all, I would like, this is a question that's been raised by various people. I would answer it generally over here. The interest rate reduction is more suited to a bank, because bank can borrow money from RBI. And RBI has reduced the LTRO rate, which is long-term repo rate, as well as repo rate, and also reduced the LAF to create more liquidity in the market.
Oh.
Now, essentially, and because bank has a CASA deposit also, which is current account, savings account, they're able to utilize this money to lower the interest rate. As far as FIs are concerned, banks are concerned, NBFCs are concerned, like us, we are non-deposit taking NBFC. So our liability is fixed even before the COVID crisis. The good part is, post-COVID crisis also, there's going to be a possibility of increase of rate. Not now, maybe 6-8 months down the line. Then also the IREDA rate will not go up. So that's one thing we are very clear. What is important is, today it is not the issue of interest rate. It is the issue of liquidity. I think that is where the concentration should be. If you have liquidity, you can survive. If you can survive, you can then talk about lowering of interest rate. If you don't have liquidity, just chance of survival itself is not there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shah. Now I invite Mr. Anand Kumar, Chairman, Gujarat Regulatory Commission, and then
Okay.
so let me also mention to Mr. Anand Kumar, Chairman, Regulatory Commission of Gujarat at the moment. He incidentally has served 4 regulatory commissions in the country. He was the chairman earlier with the Meghalaya, then he was also in Uttarakhand, and before that he was in UP. So he also right now is the vice chairman of Forum of Regulators there. So he has been all the time in the reform since 1998 when they started, or something like that. So Mr. Anand Kumar, over to you, please.
Okay, Arun, thank you so much. And in this lockdown situation, I think this is the best part on your behalf, that you have connected us through at least video conferencing. So this is, I think, the very good step you have taken. And let me begin with my my presentation, whatever I have made in last 2 days. Can you just go on the next slide?
Yes, please.
So, okay. Basically, what is the biggest challenge for us? The biggest challenge for us, as Chintan has spoken about, the liquidity. Yes, I understand liquidity is a great challenge for us, but ultimately the revenue is coming from the consumers, or you say the common man of the country, the citizen of the country. So since they have to pay the money for the electricity they consume, and that makes the whole cycle. First, it will go to DISCOM, and from DISCOM, it will go to the generator, because 85% of the total tariff is only because of power purchase cost. So ultimately, they will have to pay to GENCOs and rest to the financial institution and other O&M activity. So for us, the biggest challenge is how to deal with that in this scenario, which is a very, very critical moment of our whole life, that we have seen this kind of situation. At least for my, service, I have gone through this kind of situation for the first time. So the biggest challenge for us, how to, make a balance between the consumer and the other stakeholders. Now, you must be knowing that in the last few days, Ministry of Power and Ministry of Finance and the CRC and the government of the states have gone with, or have come up with the, compensation mechanism to give comfort to the consumers of the state. Like in Gujarat, Gujarat has done two important decisions. Like they have exempted the industries from paying the fixed charges, which is also about 20% of the tariff. So now this 20% of the revenue of the DISCOM will be affected for the next 1 or 2 months, maybe 3 months. It depends upon the lockdown situation. Now the second aspect, what they have given to the consumers of the state, like the total population of the country is now differing their, they have extended the due date of the payment. So it is also by about 2 months or 3 months. So now the position of the liquidity in the DISCOM hand is very poor. Whatever bill they were getting from the consumers, now they are not getting. And the second is a very important aspect, which is the demand. Now in the demand of the states, I know about the Gujarat, it is reduced by 40%, because we have industries consumption of about 32%. So this is also a big challenge for us, that most of our plants are now either stressed or not running, and they are also under lockdown. So demand is reduced, so revenue is reduced, and over and above, the consumers are not reduced. So this is the biggest challenge for the DISCOM. There are private DISCOMs and there are government DISCOMs. So this is the first challenge we are facing. Now, how to deal with it, I am not sure. Now, the second challenge, which Chintan has told me about, the deferment of the ongoing projects. For regulators, I think it is a very good idea Chintan has given to me, that the Regulatory Commission should come up with a guidelines, that what would be the guidelines and what would be the compensation mechanism that a generator or any stakeholder has to come across, and then make their proposal according to that guidelines. That will at least ease the process of the regulation. Because what I feel in the last 20 years of the regulatory period, that the, when I started training in the Regulatory Commission, I think about 25 years back, then there was a word, regulatory lag. And that point of time, I was not very sure what is the regulatory lag. Now I feel there is a big regulatory lag in our country. Any decisions in the regulatory commissions has to take about years time. It is not very fast, because of the process, because of the legal issues, because of the data. Data is also one of the important aspect. So this is also a challenge for us, that if we do not take, or if we do not prepare ourselves for the post-COVID period, then definitely everybody has to take a hit. And since I was going through many, papers which have been written by leading people of the country, that how to deal with the post-COVID situation, when our economy of the country will, go reduce. And as our Honorable Prime Minister also spoken in some of his speech, that if you do not, if you do not make social distancing, then our country may be far behind what it has come today. So this is a big challenge, and the Regulatory Commission should start preparing such type of guidelines. And for that, my suggestion is that one of few stakeholders like Chintan or many more come up with a proposal before the forum of a regulator, because this is not the situation in Gujarat. I am comfortable that Gujarat will not face such situation which other states will face. So this proposal should come before the forum of a regulator, and there should be a model draft prepared by experts with consultation of all the stakeholders like developers and the financial institutions or these equipment suppliers. They should, they should come to the forum and have a detailed deliberation on the subject, and we should decide that what guidelines should be followed by all the states in near future. Now next. There are a lot of operational issues also, because you see that lockdown in the month of March, there are projects which are ongoing in Gujarat also. There are many projects which we have gone by the competitive bidding route, and it is about maybe 5,000 to 7,000 megawatt. I'm not sure about the numbers, but there are many projects, and that projects will face now this kind of delay. And as Chintan spoken that about the IDC, I think yes, IDC is a great issue, and one must look into that and find out the way that the interest of all these stakeholders are balanced, because this hit of post-COVID has to be taken by all the citizens of the country, including me and you. Because suppose if we also got moratorium, or we also got some kind of interest cut in our life savings, what we have done throughout our career, and suppose of the retirement benefits, then naturally we have also take a hit, because this is a situation where everybody in the country needs to take a haircut, and we have to see that our country should not stop and it should go ahead. So operational issues are number of issues which we have come across, like the demand is at the present is low, but our renewable energy is generating, and this is a must-run project. So this will be a situation that, can you go on the next slide, which we have, I have prepared for you, that what is the demand and the supply situation in the state of Gujarat. Next slide. These are the financial issues which I have come across, but I think once we prepare the whole document on the financial aspect of the post-COVID situation, then I think that will give us a clear picture. Because whatever I thought that, because I have not thought about the IDC, I have thought only about the liquidated damages due to delay in project. This we can, we can exempt. But what about the IDC? IDC is nothing but an increase in the tariff, and that tariff has to be paid by the consumer of the state. So that is the sensitivity of that issue. And we have gas projects. Now we have ordered for the gas from imported, this thing, like Saudi Arabia or this thing, American shale gas, and we have already paid for it. Now, if we do not use our gas projects, then who will pay this liability? So this is also a challenge for us. So there are a lot of challenges, and you see the load profile. If you see this is the demand. Initially, demand was the blue line, and then that was a Janta curfew one day. So you see the red line, which is now the demand. So there was a reduction of about 5,000 megawatt or so in our Gujarat scenario. So this is a big challenge. Now this, suppose our demand has been now 9,000 megawatt. Now you see the next curve. Now this is the flexi generation of wind. Wind, you see in the 24 hours, it fluctuates like this. Now if it fluctuates like this, you have to cope up with your present demand. So this is also a challenge for us, that within a period of 30 minutes, it come down to about 1500 megawatt or so. So this is also a challenge for us. The next is the solar. Solar, you see this kind of pattern we have to take. Now, this is the situation when we have only 7,000 megawatt in our kitty. Now we are coming up with 15,000 now in next 3 years time. What will happen to that? It will be 3 times of this. So this kind of challenge we have to face. Operationally, we can face it, but commercially it will be difficult because of the fact that we have to pay the fixed cost to the generators who have made agreement with the developer to pay that. And the last slide is the way forward. So way forward is, yes, I was going through also that whether it is a force majeure. Now, if it is a force majeure, then whether it is a natural force majeure or a non-natural, because this is not to be treated as the act of God, because act of God is only the earthquake or similar kind of things. But pandemic is also a kind of situation. It is a war-like situation. So this can be treated in the non-natural. But yes, it is a force majeure. And the definition of force majeure is say that when it is not in the control of the developer or the stakeholder, and they cannot meet their contractual liabilities or obligations, then both the parties are, given relief to be exempted from that. So this force majeure has to be declared. The present advisory, which is issued by Ministry of Finance or so, it is only a kind of advisory. It is not a notification. It has to be given as a notification that it is a force majeure. When it is a force majeure, then all the contracts will cover those liabilities. So this is must. Now penalties because of the delay, that can be seen by the regulator, and we will take a sympathetic view. And as I have already pointed out that in my whole career, I have always worked as a facilitator. I wanted to solve the situation, and I wanted to make our rules flexible so that all the stakeholders are comfortable. With this, I would like to thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anand Kumar, the Chairman GRC, about these details. Let me also mention the whole attendee. There are 86 people are there on this, connected on this webinar at the moment. There are 11 people are on this panel side, and then 75 people are on the attendee side. So you may understand this is what we happening. Now I invite R.K. Joshi to speak about it, and since he has sent me this a PDF file, so I like to, we are running out little late by 10 minutes at least, so I would like to request next people's may please it have, because a very important finance part and regulating part, these were very two important items which has been already spoken, and I think will coming. Now we have a government of Arunachal Pradesh with and Mr. R.K. Joshi, Chief Engineer. He's head of the Department of Hydropower there, and he is going to speak about Arunachal Pradesh here. So over to you. Oh, 1 second. Over to you. Stop sharing. How to do that? Where it is? Yes, share. I must share here. So go ahead, Joshi ji.
Yes, very good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible at the moment. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Kindly go to the next slide, please. See, I have attempted, I have attempted to structure this small presentation. I'll try to be in time only. In 10 minutes, I'll finish it up. Part 1, the hydropower scenario at present in Arunachal Pradesh. And the pre-COVID, there are some issues which I have tabulated. And the third will be during and post-COVID scenario. Next, please. Yeah. See, as you can see, Arunachal otherwise is having a very, very highly, it's a very rich state in terms of hydropower potential. As you must be knowing, 40% is in Arunachal. But unfortunately, because of some issues, we could not harness it yet. So we could only harness 1% out of it. And perhaps after completing my coming, we will be reaching around 2%. Next. To achieve this and to harness this potential, we have signed some agreements. There was a time when it was a lot of liquidity was in market and people were interested to go for no hydro side. But unfortunately, we have signed the agreement, but not much could be achieved. This is a breakup which is not very much related today, but it's still just for the information. I am sharing this. Next. Out of this 167, what I have shown in previous slide, we have completed three, two from NEPCO side and one from private developer. And coming, we are expecting in say another few months. Next. No, yeah. So this is the slide where I would like to keep at least 1 minute reserve for this. See, as you can see, for a small hydro, what you can see 25 megawatt, we have still we are having around 37 projects which are in various stages of development. So if we concentrate into them, so we will be adding around 600 megawatt. As Mr. Pant in the first presentation told that we need to input around 5 gigawatt of the power by 2022. So this 37 project having around 600 megawatt may next. Yeah. So pre-COVID also we were dealing with some problems. Projects as we were
Mansi Saab, Director Himachal Government Energy, she has joined, so she will be there.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Yes. Please go ahead.
So because of this mandatory basin study report and compulsion in 2013, many of our projects have converted from viable to non-viable because of this e-flow, increased in e-flow. And there was some restriction of 1 kilometer free flowing. And so this whole thing has increased the cost of the power. This was one of the major issue where the private developers have taken a pullback, and we are still struggling into it. Next. So strategic clearances, everybody must be knowing, but I'll like to put one, that is the 7th number, Arunachal Pradesh State Pollution Control Board, APSPCB. This I would like to inform everyone here that with the recent investment policy, government of Arunachal Pradesh has condoned taking the NOC from pollution control board for hydro. This is a big step we have taken. We need to only notify to the pollution control board. No need to go for a consent to initiate and consent to start. Next. Yeah, there are few issues which are of course general in nature, but there are few which are particular to the Arunachal because we have a customary law here also. Because what happens, the community owns the land in the whatever the state forests are there, unclassified forests, the community is the owner of that. So what happens in that area, whatever work we do or any developer does, they have to pay to that community also, as well as the forest department. So these were the issues. I will not delve in detail because you already know it. But because of the financial situation in last few years, certainly the development of hydropower in Arunachal was not as we were envisaging. Next. Yeah. So during this, everybody knows about it. The problem is unquantifiability of this, what is happening around. We don't know. I think some speakers have tried to make it to 3 to 7% in operational and 4 to 8% in the under construction project. But see, it's a very difficult to quantify it at this present stage. And for Arunachal, there is a peculiar situation. In Arunachal, because we deal with around 26 major tribes in this state. So every tribe has their own indigenous rituals on such occasions. I'll try to show it to you in the next slide and then explain. Next. See, this is, no, down. Yeah. This is Adi tribe. See what happens. Whatever, in such situations, what they do, they block the roads. What they do, they lock their whole area, and they don't allow anyone to come out or anyone to go in. And this was from their customary laws. And the fact of matter is, it was not now, in the village level also they do it. So the point to ponder is, even after clearance of lockdown from the government side, we need to discuss with each and every tribe to let this lockdown open, and they must be having their own rituals to open it also once they have done it with after that ritual. So this is going to be taking some more time. Next. Yeah, this is another tribe. They have blocked the road. This is another tribe. They call it Ariram. They have blocked it. Next. Yeah. Yes. See, basically the difficulties of developers have already been explained quite vividly by my previous speakers. In Arunachal also, basically we depend on most of the laborers from outside the state. So during this situation, most of the laborers have already migrated. So naturally, I don't know how much time it is going to take from them to come back to the work. And number two, because of the supply chain disruption, because Arunachal is basically a consumer state. We don't have much of industries around. So starting from a small bag of cement to steel or anything, any small nut and bolt of any turbine. So we need to take it from outside. So that is going to be a challenge for us. Next. Yeah. We have done a little bit on this after MNRE notification of COVID notification of force majeure. Of course, we have another option of frustration of contract as per Indian Contract Act, Section 56. Based on the convenience and comfort of both the parties, I think we can discuss these issues of force majeure and frustration of contract to make it not to harm anyone, but to come out from this embargo. Next. Yes, this is important. I would like to call attention of everyone here. For Arunachal Pradesh, government has come out with the investment policy, which is effective from this 1st April 20, in which we have, as I have already told, for the project up to 25 megawatt, you need not to go for pollution control but NOC. And for the project up to 10 megawatt, there are some benefits, incentives also, like 30% capital subsidy in tools and plant, which is maximum up to 50 lakhs. 5 years interest subsidy, that is up to 80% in tools and plant. 3% interest subsidy in working capital, maximum up to 1 crore. This is another incentive government of Arunachal Pradesh has given. Stamp duty has been exempted for 50%, maximum up to 25 lakhs. And state GST has been exempted for 15 years. Though there are a little bit of formalities to apply it, but these are the important steps government of Arunachal Pradesh has taken to encourage the investment in hydropower sector in the state. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi. Now, I would like to say that the key speakers have been there. Now, I'll be inviting the panelists, and I think I would not like to spend time on introducing because everybody is there in terms of known, because a small hydro is a very small family, and people know about it. Because most of the people know each other because small family people know much here. So I now like to invite Mr. Arun Sharma, who is the president of Himachal Power Hydropower Station. And I would like to ask everybody to please be careful about the time, because we will be shooting the time otherwise. And now I will be sharing this slides for Mr. Sharma. Yeah, Mr. Sharma, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sabko namaskar. I'm glad that the issues of developers have been addressed very fairly by the previous speakers, and I will go fast then instead of going through them again and again. So maybe first slide, 1 or 2 slides I will skip. And it is a supply chain which is really affecting us now at the moment. We have 2 parts. One, the projects under construction. Now that, as we know, and it has already been suggested earlier, that delay is now cannot be avoided. And that means IDC has to be taken care. The project implementation period has to be extended. And we have to see that when do we get them back is very important, because of 3 months, not only up to June, then we have a rainy season. So it literally becomes 6 months, and then again it will be winter, because then again 2 months only. So it's a long period. Particularly, this was the best period as far as the construction in the hilly hydro was concerned. Now, looking to the challenges there, I think we have heard, and it will be wise to give and a policy for those projects which are stuck, and there I think implementation will be extended at least by 6 to 9 months. It cannot be done less than that, and IDC has to be taken care of. Now, on supply chain, looking to the current running projects is very, very important, because you need spare parts. Particularly, we don't have a manufacturer here to represent, because my request will be that even
no, we have Andres. We have Andres with us.
Good. Andres, yeah, it's important that Andres is there. See, the fact of the life is that you got to be now competitive. All original suppliers are charging almost double what a other second vendor is doing. So people are going to vendors. We have decided that in case we have to pay 25% extra than the other vendor which we have, to the original manufacturer will be very happy. If the cost is double, it doesn't pay for the O&M on the tariff, because ultimately our bottom line is the revenue and the tariff. So my request is today, looking to this position at least for a 1 year or 2 years, please give us supplies, take the orders online, make arrangements that they reach the powerhouses projects as swiftly as possible, so that on account of the spare parts, no project should suffer. This is very, very important, and this will be special request, particularly at least for a period of 1 year, that we need this kind of a support. Now, financing has been talked about. After we see these 2 parts are taken care of, the projects are running, because you are having not money, cash flow will be a constraint, but at least if the generation is there, you have something value added as far as the small hydro is concerned. And I'm glad that Pansab said in the morning that SHP has proven only last night that for grid stability, it's a must. Now, for the financing, Chetan Shah had mentioned about some things which they will be giving to their own customers. Our request is that it is only IREDA as a financial arm of MNRE, and maybe other joints like PFC, they have to come up now for this some period, that those who are hanging in the other financial institutions and not getting support, they have to be given a sympathetic look and a financing program. I think the best policy today has been the top-up loans, because they're very safe. It means the project is running for many, many years. And after running the project, into may have a next slide. After running the project for many years, then only we are asking is a kind of a cash flow discounting. So it's very, very safe, and it doesn't need that you have to even go to the site first, have a DPR approval or anything. So it's a switchover, and the top-up loan should be provided for those who are stuck with the banks. NPA was talked about. There are only 3 ways the NPAs are coming if you see in small hydro. One is force majeure of the floods. 2 is the financing pattern, which earlier banks have done is 8 to 10 years. And today, IREDA is doing the best 50 to 20 years. If the same package is provided to them, they will come back. And third account is, I think, again, from some of the utilities, the money not flowing as per the planned schedule, which is approved by the regulator also. So developer has nothing to, had no role, in fact, in all these 3. So that if anybody falls in these 3, I think we have to have a package, and I'm looking to that what statement Pansab gave, that perhaps soon a policy or a package is coming from the ministry side also. Now, if we have these top-up loans at the moment, maybe for a period of 1 year, people can switch. Then the current ones will run, and also in case there is a more revenue available on top up, they can also be invested in the NPA projects. Now this will be meaning that the current project is also safe, and you have also revived a NPA project. Or you may buy out some of the assets which will give you a long-term revenue in the future. So I think IREDA should look into it. We rather want a special scheme to be done within this month only. The idea is that in case we can have loans up to May, then in June will be 1 month where people can look into, plan things, because again 3 months nothing will be there on site, and so that the NPA projects can be in October, November taken over, or at least can be, I should say, revamped as far as the generation is concerned. Now, after that, I think the next question is coming is that how do we move about from the permits if again there is going to be long shutdowns, not only for 21 days as we anticipate, then I think we have to get the local administration also, though it is under the essential services. Till now, we applied that our vehicle should move, we have to go out for buying space and all, but nothing was coming out. At least I'm talking about Uttarakhand. So let us have this information through the government agencies, that now there will be more after 1 or 2 months. I think there will be more requirement where all the stakeholders have to work together as far as the running of the project is concerned. Discoms are one, because we want discoms to be healthy. If they are healthy, they will give us the money. Now, if 3 months moratorium has been given to them, to us also, we are in a problem that we need something for our O&M expenses, and that should not stop, because that is a trust and a lifeline for the generation. So generation must continue, then it will be a question of the fund flow only. But if generation stops, then it will be very, very big loss to the sector. So this point has to be taken into consideration, that maybe short-term loans in addition to what 3 months to 6 months moratorium has been talked about. I think Chintanji has addressed it well while giving his presentation. Only thing is that who does it, and if you have a small schemes where MNRE also steps in, I think this sector needs something immediate injection. I mean, not talking on the long term. So once these things are there, I think we will be in a position to overcome this period of 6 months, which have been on the force majeure. Over to you, Dr.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sharma. Now I go to next Sujay, and after Sujay, I'll be requesting Manasi to speak. Mr. Sujay, so let me go for sharing of screen of Sujay. Where is Sujay? Is here.
Oh, by the time you share screen, I will start speaking.
Oh yeah. Why not?
Arun Kumar ji, thank you, Anand Kumar ji and Chintan for fantastic points, and Arun ji. I would like to quickly go through the facts which we pursue of COVID-19. Next slide.
You can move if you can think. Can you move?
Just a moment.
No.
You have to give me the control.
All right. It has not come to me. Let me move. Okay.
The impact of corona pandemic is going to be multi-dimensional and multifaceted, and this is especially the most disruptive black swan event for small hydro sector, and particularly in India, especially the small hydro sector. This event is even more stressful for projects which are under construction, which everybody appreciated up till now, and which are midway through the execution. The projects which are in early stage can plan for this, the escalations which would come. Basically, I would summarize this situation as when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So it is the hydropower developer people are tough guys, and it is not time to rise. The challenges are summarized as below. Next slide, please.
Sorry.
I have just divided it into 3 parts. Civil, as everyone said, I expect delay to be minimum of 8 months, assuming the lockdown period and the mobilization of labor, which is going to be a big challenge. Even after post-monsoon, due to the social distancing norms, labor might not be willing to come back. The electromechanical, hydromechanical, and balance of plant works, other than civil, there will be there have been extensive disruptions in supply chain of the domestic vendors and imported vendors. These disruptions are seriously going to affect the completion schedules, and minimum disruption is expected to be of around 6 months. Further, the erection, testing, and commissioning activity, as everyone will appreciate, involves deputation of highly skilled technicians or engineers, which will not be possible in this pandemic environment, as there would and justifiable resistance on part of people as well to travel and come to the remote locations of hydropower plants. And most important thing is we expect rupee to devalue substantially as a result of the effect on economy, which would have cascading effect on copper, steel, transportation costs, effectively increasing the cost for the project. Next slide.
Oh.
So this, what are the effects of this? The effect would be delay in COD, as rightly pointed out earlier. I expect it to be minimum of 16 months to 18 months, depending on specific projects. Escalation in project cost due to increased IDC, escalated capital and manpower costs. And funding these escalations is going to be a major challenge, because any relief which we are expecting will take time to come. The more we wait, the more IDC is going to increase and sink the viability of an under construction project. By far, the only way to mitigate this impact is by investing additional equity to meet the costs. This, I mean, everybody won't like this, but this is the stark reality which we have to accept. Next point. Now, what are the challenges for new projects? The challenges are the same. Since new projects are still under planning, we can mitigate these risks, but the increase in capital cost is expected to be at least 8 to 15% of the project, and delays in deadlines. Impact, liquidated damages and penalties from authorities, which Anand Kumarji said that the regulatory commission can take care of this. Reduced viability of projects, which would again have funding challenges. And no energy regulatory commission would immediately compensate for this escalation. As Anand Kumarji said, since the consumers have to pay this cost, we should not expect any compensation by way of increased tariffs. Next point. Next slide. Now, force majeure. Since most of the industries are shut down, as depicted by the charts, the DISCOM's demand has gone down, reducing its cash flows. The extensive delays in payments by DISCOMs are expected. However, for small hydro sector, I don't foresee that force majeure will be enforced by discoms, because the small hydro developer has been generating power and selling it to the grid. So he's living up to his end of bargain under the contract. At the most, what we expect is a delay in payments of around 4 to 6 months. The major affected developers are the one who would be selling this under open access to industries. Since most of the industries are not utilizing this power, they will be enforcing force majeure and not paying the take it or leave it compensation liability which they are liable to pay. Next slide. The last one. So the conclusion: expect increase in project cost for ongoing projects and delays by 6 to 18 months. Expect substantial increase in project cost for new projects. Expect funding challenges for new ongoing projects, delayed payment cycle from discoms, force majeure actions by open access consumers. And last and most important is we as developers have to find a way out of this challenge on our own, and we should not overwhelm the government in this days of national emergency. Thanks all. I finished in 6 minutes 40 seconds.
Thank you very much, Sujoy, for this discussion. And now I'll invite Mansi Sahai, who is a 2009 batch IS officer of Himachal Pradesh, and she is the Director of Energy in charge of Government of Himachal Pradesh. She incidentally holds the charge of Managing Director of Civil Supplies also, and that's why she should join a little late. But even then, we welcome Mansi for this, and please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Professor Kumar. And firstly, let me start off by appreciating this initiative, because the sector indeed, as if the problems were not enough for the hydro sector, especially the small hydro sector, that many more issues have arisen because of the present pandemic. So having said that, I would first like to say that Himachal Pradesh, a major source of revenue generation for the state is the hydro sector. So we have been dealing with the many issues and the slowdown in the hydro sector. So we had been dealing with it. We had been actively taking up matters at different forums for the betterment of the sector and to somehow pull it out of this present crisis situation. But now with this present pandemic situation that has started, our problems have really doubled, and we really feel as a state it is a major hit to us that such an important and vital sector is facing many issues. So the state government was already taking a lot of initiatives and a lot of incentives, and we were having active dialogues with our power developers to bring in new initiatives. However, with this present situation and the present hit and the way their work has stopped presently, we really are thinking that what more steps can be taken for the hydro sector. So having said that, I would definitely mention the things that we were doing as a state government. But before saying that, I would move to the present crisis situation and what is actually happening in Himachal Pradesh. So if I can just tell all our participants, up to 25 megawatt, we have 109 commissioned projects with a total capacity of 590 megawatt. And presently there are 45 projects up to 25 megawatt which are under construction with a total capacity of close to 291 megawatt, which is very important for us. So presently our power developers, the first thing is that the work has completely stopped. Not a single project which was under construction is able to proceed on field right now. There are certain issues. There are talks that if the local administration can facilitate starting the activities, but the issue is not that simple. Even if permissions are granted by the concerned local administration to get the work started, there is an issue of the supply chain, which has been very well brought out by the previous speakers, by the previous panelists. And material movement, even cement is a major concern. Today, if we see, like Professor Kumar mentioned, I'm also the managing director of the HP State Civil Supplies Corporation. We would supply cement for different activities and for development activities like Narega as well. However, in present circumstances, when everybody is saying that Narega should be given a boost so as to give a boost to local economy, we are not in a position to supply cement because all the cement factories have shut. So the supply chain, so it does not just, the issue presently is not just restricted to labor. There are labor issues. People are very scared of coming out of their houses. Many of the laborers which were active in Himachal Pradesh, they had gone home, and now they are like in few projects in Chamba, labor was coming in from Jharkhand, but they are still in Jharkhand. In such situation, they cannot come. And the material movement is of major concern. And because this does not come under essential services, that's why the material movement is extremely difficult. So let me also apprise you that even if I speak about the material movement and the supply chain of essential commodities, that too has, in spite of all the reprieve and the government directives, that too has taken a major hit. Dals of Himachal, which come from Andhra Pradesh, our trucks are stuck there for the last 7 days, and we are still coordinating with people. So just to this, I'm just saying this just to bring in the extreme situation that we are dealing with. So if for essential commodities, the movement is not so simple right now, for non-essential commodities and for bringing in material for our hydro projects will be even more challenging. So that is the point that I'm trying to draw upon the esteemed participants today. And the interest during construction, so our project developers are also dealing with this major issue of IDCs continuing. The clock is ticking. And we have to definitely, we will be, as a state government, we will be trying to provide whatever extensions we can. But IDC and all are certain aspects in which we don't see any relief coming in presently. I would just like to give you a small example of what happened a few days back. So there was this, the HP Power Transmission Corporation had this double circuit line, 400 kV line under construction for one of our projects. It went to the local administration so as to try and get permits so that they could be allowed. They had the requisite material at disposal on the site. They wanted to start with the project work, the construction work, after following all due protocols. They got the permission. They were given a permission on paper that they can proceed with the work. However, once they started, there was a lot of hue and cry. The locals made a lot of issue because there was such panic which was all over, and they said that why is section 144 imposed, we will not allow this. So there was, and then police also arrived at site and the work had to be stopped. So, there are several practical issues that we are dealing with right now. And as a state government, we are really worried because the sooner our target is always that our projects come on field, they get running sooner, so that the state government also, after all, the state government is the final owner of all these projects. And it also gets a free power share component which is vital for our revenue generation. So at this stage, what do we feel? We feel that as a state government, we had come up with a lot of incentives like free power deferment, at the same time, mandatory purchase of power by DISCOM up to 25 megawatt, exemption and open access charges. We were coming up, we've already prepared a cabinet note for one-time extension and one-time window to all our projects, which is under consideration of the government. But all those efforts that we had put in, we are feeling that in the present circumstances, they will also take a major hit. So this is something that I would like to say from my end. I don't have a presentation because I was busy in other things, but my main points, this is how I would like to sum up, that there were a lot of initiatives which were being taken in, and we were really hoping that the sector would get revived, especially for a small state like Himachal Pradesh with very few revenue sources, and hydro being a major source of revenue. And we are a hydro state, but today in these circumstances, definitely we are trying. Today also there's going to be a discussion on how we can get these projects started, what can we do. But the situation today is that our hydro sector is completely at a standstill, and we are hoping that somehow we work together to get it started at the earliest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mansi Shah, for this. You're coming and speaking about this hydropower sector, which is a core of Himachal Pradesh. Now I invite PM Nanda. Mr. PM Nanda is a Senior Vice President of Greenco, and Mr. PM Nanda. Mr. PM Nanda?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, I would slightly like to deviate from the presentation, because I think the context of the discussion is altogether slightly different, because we were trying to cover up the difficulties being faced in the ongoing projects and coming up projects. But I think with reference to the present context of discussion, can I continue without presentation, sir?
As you please. I mean, it's your choice.
Yes, sir. So I feel I'll continue with without presentation, sir.
You can put your little bit your screen a little bit so that you can full face can come. You can lower down your screen so that your full face can come.
I'm trying, sir. It is not coming.
No. The screen. Fold the screen. You bring down, lower down your screen, or you raise yourself, whatever way you want. Otherwise, go ahead.
Yeah. Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, you are visible, or your eyes are visible only. Yes, now it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not able to see myself on this.
No, you need not to see yourself.
Yes,
you
yes,
see yourself.
yes, sir. Now it's visible, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, basically the context of the discussion as it is going, most of the issues which are coming up in view of this COVID issue, the projects are being addressed. My idea is that basically what we see in the situation is the projects which are getting impacted most with this situation are the projects which are either nearing completion or have just commissioned maybe a few months back, because those are the most stressed projects. The projects which are nearing commission, they have already input all their resources, and the IDC component which we are forcing will be the maximum limit for these projects only. And similarly, looking at the projects which have just recently commissioned, they are under the biggest pressure of repayment of the installments. Now, any delays in the repayment or any stoppage of the cost flow from the discoms is going to affect them the worst. So these are the two set of projects which will need immediate redressal. As rightly pointed out by initial discussions, this moratorium period for the discoms and the moratorium period for the developers should have a difference. See, the discoms, if they are stopping cash flow for 3 months and the developer is also getting moratorium for 3 months, it's not going to serve the purpose, because the moment the cash flow starts, again they'll have a gap of 2 to 3 months, and then the situation will become worse from them and they might become the NPAs. So as suggested earlier in the discussion, I think I also agree with the proposition that the developers should have a longer moratorium period than whatever moratorium period is being envisaged for the discoms and other people. Second point I was coming to this is, see, we are talking about moratorium, but is moratorium going to solve all problems? No, because whatever indirect cost impacts which are having on this, or increase in tariff which is happening in this, if that is getting compensated is one part of it, but the other need which is required is the extension of the loan repayment periods. I think this is one aspect which has been which has not been covered in the initial part of discussion. As of now, we have a repayment period of 15 years or 18 years, depending upon banks to bank. I think that needs to be enhanced to 20 or 21 years with the immediate effect. And whatever loans are in process of payment, their installments needs to be reworked out with reference to the extended period. The benefit should go to those projects which have recently commissioned, because this benefit will enable them to become non-NPAs, and secondly will ease out pressure on the government side as well for making the payments to them, because the discoms will start making payments maybe not to the full percent, 80%, 70%, 60% extent. So if the period is extended and the installments are reworked out, I think the cash flow system of the projects will be much better off, and they will be able to survive in the crisis for another 2.5 years, which will make them really suitable. Another thing which I wanted to list is the projects which are nearing commissioning. I think the GST waiver and other things, there can be these provisions which should be in place at least for these projects which are nearing commission or midway through the commissioning, so that whatever capex impact is coming because of increase of IDC and other issues might get diluted a bit, and we will not see the tariff increased requirement for these projects. This is important because the tariff increase again goes to the consumer itself only. So as the developers are under stress, consumer is also equally under the same stress. So this issue of waiver of GST like this, if the provisions like this are there, the capex impact will go in a reduced manner. Then another thing, which the projects which are coming up, I think they will plan the things. But looking at this kind of situation, I think there are certain benefits which the state governments can transfer to these projects. Is that there is a very small component but a substantial component which comes in the form of, because there is a lot of private land acquisition for the project. So there is a component which comes for the registration of mutation of land or lease of the forest land, etc. These are the components which has always been contested by all developers, that at least small projects, renewable projects, should be given waiver on these projects. So this is a small component, maybe 1-2% of the project cost, but does matter in a situation like this. So the waiver for the land registration, mutation charges, forest land lease charges, etc., I think should also be thought of waiving off, rather than having an increased tariff compensation to a substantial extent in these projects. Then another project is another issue which will come for the projects which are near commissioning is claims of the contractor. We are trying to foresee the IDC component of the project. Yes, it will be somehow government will come out with a mechanism, but the smaller projects have a bigger problem, because most of the contractors, I'm talking about the projects which are less than 10 megawatt or around 5 megawatt or 3 megawatt or so, most of the contractors are local contractors. These local contractors will go hand and dry in present situation with the cash problems. So the developers will have to input equity from their side to revive those contractors and start making them work at the sites. Now, IDC component which is coming with the project, government will come out with some mechanism. But whatever claims, losses, these contractors will have to be compensated by the developers itself only. So there again, this is an additional component of capex which will come into the force. I think this will be a substantial component depending upon the stage of development of the project. So this is another area which needs a redressal, or which the mechanism needs to be sorted out, so that this kind of capex increase which are coming on the projects can give some benefit to the vendors, and the projects are able to be commissioned in those things. And for new coming up projects, I think there is an initiative already started by the Niti Aayog that they want to see how do we want to kickstart upcoming projects faster and commission them in a faster pace. So my idea is that we have a very set process of clearances for the projects. So there is a scope where we don't dilute the requirement of the clearances, but as well as we can have a procedure or process in place where clearances and the construction of project after a certain stage of the clearance can go hand in hand, which will reduce the gestation period of the project because this we have been advocating all along since very long, that the initial clearance process plus the construction period, that's the biggest disadvantage for the small hydros with reference to all other renewable sources of the project. They don't have that clearance process in that, so their gestation period starts from the day one, whereas in case of hydro it starts maybe after 2 years or 3 years. But we can definitely have a process where this process can start hand in hand with the construction. There is a small suggestion in that, like forest land diversion case, as Arun Sharma Saab rightly pointed out, that's a biggest area of the longest gestation period which impacts. Same issue was raised by Mr. Pant also in his initial address. My idea is that, see, the forest being a central subject, but still the resources are being controlled by the state, and state has the ownership of all those resources. So the moment the cases are recommended by the state government to the regional office or the government of India, I think that is a point where the project construction can start, because in principle acceptance of the forest land diversion is there with the state government, and since they being the owner of the resources, that is a point where if the construction of the project is started, I think another 6 months or 8 months or 1 year of the process can be solved, saved for the project, which will ultimately result in a reduced cost of the capex of the project, and reduced tariff, or the increase of tariff which we are forcing might not happen in those kinds of projects. So my idea is we have to look in this direction, and then I think definitely we can try to ease out some situation. So difficulties which are there in the projects were there earlier also, are going to stay there as well. But I think looking at the bigger situation now, those smaller level project level difficulties will have less importance at this stage, and more importance will be the feasibility of the project. There is one more point which I missed, was all these projects are getting subsidies from the MNRE, and the subsidies which are being sanctioned by the MNRE are having a lag of 1 year, 2 year period as of now. My suggestion would be, rather than sanctioning complete subsidies of the project in one go, the MNRE should take a view, and the part subsidy for more number of projects, that should be a process looking at this situation at this point of time. So what will happen is more beneficiaries with a less amount of money available with the government of India. So the stress in more number of projects can be eased out with this kind of provision. That is what. And third point is, MNRE has been very strict on the sanctioning of these subsidies of the projects. Yes, it is required. But looking at this situation now, the little bit relaxation, because I have seen many projects in Himachal and in other states also, where the subsidies are not being granted only because of delayed submission of the cases. They are complying with all other provisions, but the only issue is delayed submission because of one reason or the other. And those have all been rejected or put on hold by the MNRE. I feel that this is a situation where such kind of relaxations should come into the fore, and the projects which are commissioned and are working, I think they should have a more lenient view on those projects, and those projects they should be taken forward. This is what, sir, I wanted to convey in my presentation. Thank you everyone.
Sir, thank you, Colin. Thank you. जी. अच्छा, थैंक यू. मैं करूंगा तेरे से बात, जरा मैं के वेबिनार पे हूँ इस समय, तो मैं फिर करता हूँ. मुझे कुछ करनी भी, एक दो बातें करनी थी रिगार्डिंग दिस पेट्स एंड फ्यूचर प्लानिंग करनी है, तो बैठे करते हैं.
Hello, Arun.
Let me put myself also on it. Mr. Gujjar? Mr. Gujjar? If Mr. Gujjar is taking time, then I will ask Abhishek Swankar.
Mr. Bhanu is also here.
Huh?
Bhanu Yadav is also here.
Bhanu, no, I just welcome him. I don't know whether he heard it or not. I welcomed him, then He will be participating in the discussion. Once we just finish, 2-3 more are there to speak and quickly. So Mr. Abhishek, because Mr. Raghunath Gujjar is taking time, so please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all panelists and attendees. And at the outset, we must congratulate our POSCO, LDCs, all stakeholders for their meticulous planning, and kudos to the hydro generators for smoothly maintaining the grid during yesterday evening's event. Evidently, hydro is an important element in maintaining the grid stability. From the manufacturer's perspective, I believe I am audible to all.
Yes, you go ahead.
From the manufacturer's perspective, the effect of the current ongoing situation of COVID-19, as we are all aware, there is lockdown. So all factories are shut. Nevertheless, our offices and engineering centers are fully working, with having at least work from home, and we are all connected. Our activities related to design, engineering, technical support, project management, means say all the soft activities we are managing from home, even in this unfortunate lockdown situation. Now coming to the factories, as our panelist has already briefed about the ongoing difficulties, although there is circular declaring it as force majeure for the current running projects, the key issues what we are facing is how to provide service and spare parts to keep the existing plants running. Why? Basically, in my opinion, because running of the existing assets is coming under the essential services. Now we are supposed to supporting these essential services. So as per se, as well as the Ministry of Power advisory goes, anything which is destined to such power plants are under essential services. Nevertheless, we still have no permissions to operate our factories. And even if we are, we have certain materials, raw materials and inventories, we are still unable to find a way to start or make our factories operational in this current scenario of lockdown. Now, once this lockdown situation eases out, or there could be a partial relief, we can start operating under, please keep the slide on. We can start operating under the quarantine or social distancing norms to still keep the things running, provided we get the clearances from the local or the state authorities to run. Therefore, we are facing issues about servicing and providing the spares to the running projects, and we are hampered out. Nevertheless, the logistics also not aligned with the situation at all to support with. Even if we want to do this, it's evident we are unable to do it. Andrej has its own manufacturing facilities for turbine, generator, control and automation panels. Means we are self-reliant, but are also dependent on a few bought-outs. And the companies providing these bought-outs are also under this lockdown condition and are not under the essential services. Once this lockdown is relaxed, let us keep our fingers crossed, as if we are able to operate our plants even by maintaining the suggested social distancing norms. I think we would be able to meet the requirements of our customers and projects, or at least we will try to meet these. Now coming to the second slide. That is regarding the higher currency exchange rates, especially dollars, or maybe euro, though there is not much hike in the euro conversion rate. Please be apprised that as Enrich, we are fully indigenous organization that is 100% operating from India. So with the negative effect of dollar exchange rates,
projects and we are absolutely insulated. We do not expect that our customers or we could be negatively hit by this. Next slide, please. Regarding the control automation systems and its future, since all the services are fully under essential services, and for such projects and power industry, and we do not know whether this COVID-19 situation would go for once or all. Let's keep our fingers crossed. That is, it could be a one-time event, or it shall become cyclic, or seasonal, or every year, maybe with reducing impacts.
Yes.
We don't know.
Good one.
We could have a possibility that this could have a seasonal impact or may appear regularly, or we could have other similar unfortunate scenarios, maybe in future. Third slide. Yes, that's it. Maybe in future. Therefore, it makes sense to make such power plants, same as like in Europe, that these are driven through remote operations. That is minimizing the human interventions, at least in the operations of the power plants. At least I'm confident that at least the systems being provided by Enrich till now, we know that that can be upgraded to ensure that we can do this for remote operation. There comes two possibilities for this scenario, as it can be driven by policymakers to ensure that all the projects, let's say above a certain capacity, should have this, that these can be connected and operated from remote. Second, maybe for the future projects which are in line for development, that is that it must be made integral part of the specifications, that these plants should be capable of operating from remote. Then at least some of the troubleshootings could also be done from remote. Means if we talk about automation, we are now talking about slightly more intensive automation as compared to today what is existing in small hydropower plants. Today, most of these small hydropower plants running, say, have manual or at most having a single level of automation, that is supervisory sort. These could be DCS, SCADA system, but most of the things are still manual. Therefore, this level of automation has to go up to ensure that these plants can be operated from remote. In addition, of course, the kind of experience Enrich here in India as well as the rest parts of the world, this is really feasible. The very live example is Teesta 3 HEP. We also have patented solutions, namely Diomera, for the complete operation, maintenance, and maintenance of power plants. This application is very much existing and already in use in some of the power plants in India as well. So there are solutions available with us. However, it totally depends on the economy of the project involved. Certainly, from the mini hydro projects, small hydro projects, and the large hydropower projects.
Mr. Could you hurry it up, please, Mr.?
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is how it should be in the future. So that such unfortunate scenario, if repeats, then the generating companies could be prepared, or let us say shall not be unduly stressed that they are not able to keep the workforce at powerhouses and they may have to shut it down. Right now, if we see in another few months, like it is already advised, we will be reaching the time when we have the peak generation. And imagine if there is a lockdown, people do not reach a sites and not able to operate. This will be a much bigger loss as compared to the incremental investment that you could have to do to make it happen. And next slide. Coming to the automation future in hydro projects, automation future in the hydro projects, automation systems are very much available. There are already technologies in trending like IoT, which is having ability to transfer data over the network without human interface. Industry 4.0 is the trend towards nowadays as the industrial automation. As Andrich, we are pioneered and are providing the blend of these technologies, providing to...
Mr. Abhishek, could I to ask you that about the spare parts availability, especially during this period of COVID? Can you focus it on? And I think we'll like to move on fast on this, please.
Okay. Regarding the spare parts, sir, as I already shared, that we are facing difficulties as we are unable to operate at all. Though we are having the raw materials, some raw materials and inventories available with us, but still in some of the bought out items, we are also dependent on the sub vendors. So in this lockdown conditions, even the vendors are not in this essential services. So they are not able to operate even. So this is a challenge, and this is an issue. So further coming on the automation.
Yes.
Yeah. Further coming back onto the automation system, remote access. Yes, please. The same slide, last slide, please.
Okay. I think please, after this, please close.
Yep, that's fine. So the remote access can be a web client or a office or maintenance crew, basically sitting remotely in our offices, maybe in Delhi or in customer's office. This can provide the first-hand information, further enabling the analysis remotely, and reducing the response time, and also can provide the support, as we do not need to move physically to the remote project sites, and we would basically this would be basically done through the technology consisting of Cisco routers, VPN, and high security firewalls. And next slide. And this will certainly provide all these advantages, and I would say we can look into this automation systems as I suggested, for at least for the future projects in pipeline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abhishek, for giving the insight on the automation, and then talking about that this lockdown period and the foreign exchange element. Now I invite Mr. Gujjar to speak about, and then so Mr. Gujjar, I would like to share your screen, and you are at number 9. Number 8, sorry. Actually, how come there are 2 panels for you?
Good afternoon, friends. In fact, it's a good opportunity to hear to all the speakers who were there in the morning. A lot of subjects have been covered, and I think most of the things what we have been thinking has already been addressed. So I don't think I have to cover on a lot of things what I have been thinking of. But I would like to just proceed with some of the key elements that I would like to share. Since we are running out of time, I don't like to take too much of time. In Karnataka and particularly in South India, not many hydro projects are coming up. In Karnataka, there is only one project in implementation for about 6 megawatts. It is a canal-based project. Otherwise, hydro projects are not being pursued here. Only thing is, in the future, there has to be a decision, a policy decision from the state to decide how much of hydro projects are to be allowed because are to be permitted, because they are comparing with the authorities are comparing the tariffs of the solar with the hydro and find that it is not viable. So this I will leave it. I would not like to go much with that. And currently, when you look at the COVID problems, of course, there are more issues connected with the operating projects than the new projects here. In respect of operating projects, the hydro projects are coming up for the annual maintenance in the months of April to March to May. And this is the time when all the planned activities have to be done, and the lockdown has a difficulty in being able to work on that. Though the permits are being allowed for people to go to the project, but getting all the resources becomes difficult at this point of time, which are not envisaged. So this is one of the challenge which is there. And similarly, coming to the financial parameters, it is good that RBI, IREDA has decided to extend 10% of the sanctioned loans or as the extra limit to the operating projects. But this has to be extended by the banks also, which when we approach the bankers, they are telling they are only for the working capital, but RBI guidelines says it's only for the working capital. And most of the operating hydro project do not have the working capital. We are all on the only term loans. So this is another aspect which needs to come. And another aspect which was very rightly pointed out by one of the panelists was about the open access energy. In Karnataka, there are a lot of open access projects, maybe about 300-400 megawatts of hydro and almost about 2,000 odd megawatts of wind, which are operating on open access, which are third-party wheeling. And now coming to the month of March and April, where the monthly energy has being wheeled to the consumers. The next few months going to be a big challenge that the industries, if they don't pick up the manufacturing, then the selling of energy becomes difficult. And the energy being generated keeps accumulating. The cash flow becomes difficult, where it is not paid by the utilities. It is by the sale of energy to the industries directly on a monthly basis, for which the billing will be done and the collection has to be done. This will be a failure which will be coming up. And this may be another issue which comes up for all the operating projects in the next possibly few months of operations, which is a major issue which will be coming. And other projects other issues have been covered. I don't think I have to now repeat on what I have been thinking about it. And I would like to close with it. And thank you very much, Arun Kumarji, for the excellent arrangement you have done.
Gujjar, you were saying something about SCRC's issues related to that. SCRC has now come up with that their RPO is over, and that's why they would like to have the normal tariff for the small hydro, not the tariff which has been done earlier.
In Karnataka, that is what I was mentioning. We don't have a tariff for the hydro projects in Karnataka now.
Okay.
And government also is not having a policy that they are permitting setting up projects. Though the projects have been allotted, many projects have been approved in different stages or in different stages of approvals, but nobody is able to go ahead on the implementation of the project. That is why I said only one project is under implementation. They don't have a PPA still.
Okay.
And mainly it is because of the solar tariffs which has come up. Over. I think you can take over.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ragraj Gujjar, giving an insight about the Karnataka project. So now I'd like to have the last speaker of today, and after that we'll open for the discussions. Mr. Balram. Mr. Balram, where are you? Mr. Balram, where are you? Hello, Mr. Balram. He's not showing. Anyway, he's not coming up. I can't see him here. I don't know where is it. अरे आप आ नहीं रहे स्क्रीन पे नहीं है भैया So you can start if because I can't see your face here. So you can start if you like. Go ahead. I can't see you. No, I'm calling you for the phone. You're not on the Zoom. You're not on the Zoom. So if you're not on the Zoom. हेलो यार जूम पे तो आओ ना तो आप मेरे को दिख नहीं रहे हो आई कांट सी यू and can you see somebody, can you see him? No, you can see that means you are still in the you are perhaps in the mode of attendee rather than in the what's your yeah, you were in the panelist and what name you have reserved? I mean, you have what name? Balram Bhardwaj. Yes, okay. I will now moving to the yes. So now you will be there. Yes, you have come now. Ask to start the video and unmute. Okay, and then you are here. There are many. Barun Mishra has also come. Who is Barun Mishra? Anyway, this I'll remove the other ways. Okay. Balram, please go ahead. You're not audible.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, speak loudly.
Yeah, sir. It's audible?
Yes, now it's audible.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So I'm not able to see. I'm not able to see my that slides. Can you share the slides? Yeah, it's there.
Side. All right.
Yeah, it's there, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
so
yes.
I would first of all I would like to say thank you all panelists, specifically Professor Arun Kumar, who is our mentor as well, to allow me to give my technology brief of the technology about. So I would like to rather give some differences of the previous panelists that Mr. Chintan Shah from IDEDA has already covered most of the issues, and they said the very biggest issue that the labor availability next 8 months due to the migration and upcoming rainy seasons could be one of the issue of upcoming hydropower projects, specifically small hydro projects. Mr. Abhishek from Andritz rightly identified that we need to focus on remotely operating SHP technologies. That is right, because of that upcoming lockdown, which can be extended up to many months. And Mr. Anand Kumar, Chairman Gujarat Energy Corporation, has definitely have a right statement that the supplementary technologies is required to take care of regular auxiliary consumption during the longer shutdown periods of the month or so. So in that case, I would like to introduce another dimension of small hydro projects, that is surface hydrokinetic turbines. So this is one of the indigenous technology which we have developed. Just next, sir. Please next, please, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, next, sir. Hello. Yeah. So in this, the technology is completely modular, unlike other hydroconic turbines, which required at least some sort of civil structure, or any SHP turbine requires civil structure. This is a technology which requires no any civil structure, which can be act as a modular technology and can be implemented anywhere, having the velocity of at least 0.5 meter per second and the depth of at least 0.4 meter per second. And the modular size can go up to 5 to 50 kilowatts and can be extended in the form of arrays. So that would be the most viable technology available in India for the distributed generation itself. Next, please, sir. Yeah. So how we can make this turbine implementable in all the turbines, all the type of sites available. So here is the example. So you can see clearly that there is a canal having at least 15 meter width, and here we can implement at least 5 kilowatt of 2 modules in a row. And just after 50 to 40 meters distance, we can put another 2 turbines. So there how we can make the array formations. Next, sir. So there are many categories we can identify in 4 different categories of this technology, because it's a highly replicable and relocatable technology. So if there is a site availability for more than 25-meter width and at least 3-meter depth and at least 3 meter per second velocity, we can have at least 25 megawatt plant in an arrays. And in case of category 2, we can go up to 1 megawatt. And in category 3, if the site availability is just 10-meter in the width and 0.5 meter in depth, and just around velocity is under around 0.5 to 7 meters, we can go up to 100 kilowatt in a single installation. And if the category in the last category, we can go up to a modified turbine technology, because it's this technology usually harness hydrokinetic energy in the form of mechanical power. That power can be utilized directly to pump the water for the lift irrigation and various purposes. So there are the 4 categories which can identify for the specific hydrokinetic turbine technology for the application in the field itself. Next, sir. Next, please. Yeah, so this could be the business model. In that case, the similar hydrokinetic turbine technologies we can do like EPC, can also go for the BOT fields. We can do the business to business and business to customer directly according to the circumstances. And this is most suitable to those areas where the application is directly for the industry use, like captive power plant, or directly for or the existing hydropower plant where the auxiliary consumption of power requirement is more, and which is required like 1.3% of the power generation need to be used as an auxiliary. So this turbine can be act as a specifically auxiliary power supplying unit for those hydropower plants. Next, sir. Yeah, so you can click another one. Yeah, so this is the modular. Yeah, and this can be why I'm giving you a brief detail of this, because this technology can be hybridized using solar itself. So right now in most of the states, like in Uttar Pradesh and Kerala and Karnataka, people are now going for a roof of canal top solar plant and floating solar systems. But floating only on those water bodies which are stagnant, not in running water bodies. So if the canal is having more than 30-meter, 40-meter width, you cannot install solar plant in a floating condition, because they require a lot of structure. And if you cover the entire canal like 30, 40 meter, that is very costly. So here's the solution. In our technology, we can hybridize using our own hydrokinetic turbine, because the floater structure of my turbine provide the area which can be utilized to implement a turbine top solar. So this can be done, we can easily for the hybrid hydro turbine system. And if we go for the hybridization of this system, then we can use 500 kilowatt capacity through arrays through hydrokinetics, and 500 kilowatt additional power through solar to implement as a turbine top solar. So, and you can find out the capex, opex, and available, which is very, very lower in case of hybridization. Next. So this is the comparable graph. If you go for a solar plant, so that is the difference between the comparison of annual yield, capex, opex, and PLF. Actually, go for a hybrid system. You can find that capex for a 1 megawatt, including solar, 1 megawatt solar and 1 megawatt hydrokinetics, like 2 megawatt, can go up to 12.5 crore. But in other case, your capacity utilization and everything else go up to. So in comparison to all other existing technologies, the hybrid system of hydrokinetic may be the futuristic technology, which can be very prominent for the power generation in all the existing canal and river network, having the velocity available with the requirements. Next. So this is the comparative graph, please. So if we go with the hydrokinetic system, then you can find out that the blue line is this hydrokinetic line. You find out that on 24 hours, it can give you nearly a similar output if the velocity remains the same and the water level remains the same. In case of solar, there is only a peak may go up to 6 a.m. in the morning till around 7 or 7:30. So if you hybridize both, then you can have a 24/7 firm power supply, which without much intermittency. That is what required is essential for hydro renewable energy technology. So this could be another solution for hydrokinetic with solar. Next. Yeah, so in utilization, we can go for not only for a grid connectivity, but for also the off-grid. The off-grid scope in India is very wide. Even in the Arunachal Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh, where there is steppe farming is available. So in our Uttarakhand as well, the rivers are on the valley side. So you need a power to pump up the water to the steppe farmers. So this could be the module which can be modified and can be utilized only for power pump lifting the water from the hilly areas. This could be the another solution. Next. So these are the available sites. You can just keep clicking on because there are a lot of, I was unable to remove that thing. Yeah, just start keep clicking. So yeah. So these are the suggestions from for the authorities. So there is a requirement of policy development for the central as well as the state level, because there are the two basic segment of this technology. One is for the grid connected distributed generation, another is for the off-grid captive and hybrid systems. So in the case of grid connected systems, there is a requirement of to have a policy specifically to ease on the allotment of the sites, because that is one of the biggest issue, because all the sites, specifically whether it is canal, rivers or anything, is directly under the different departments of the government. So that has become very much difficult for them to deal specifically departments, specifically the irrigation department. There is another thing, there is a requirement to allow generators to feed into local level SU and CU. Because right now this is a distributed generation system, so those to utilize the locally available grid like 11 kVA, 22 kVA, and 33 kVA. So if the generators may allow us to put this power in directly into the nearest available grid, that will be very easy for us to have this technology go on. Second is the central state level subsidies policy. That is also very, very essential, because this technology is also right now is in nascent state, and to promote this technology, we need to have this kind of system. And also in the field of off-grid, we need some special measures by the government, state government, as well as for the central government. So this is our core team, and we are the founders, and we Professor Arun Kumar and Professor R.K. are mentors, and we are really thankful for IIT Roorkee for giving us the opportunity, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Balram. Now I would like to, since we are running out of time, we would like to now request, see, we have received a lot of questions in between. I don't know whether our panelists were able to see them. I could see some of them already answered by one or two, but if you see most of the questions are for the MNRE, and I can see the variety of the questions. They are basically subsidy like issues, and those have been already explained in terms of, so I would suggest if Mr. Bhanu Yadav Sahab, in any of them can see them, they can answer it. Otherwise, I would suggest that these will be in a journal, that subsidy from the MNRE is kind of things which are being awaited or looking forward. One more thing, before the start, I invited questions from the different people, and many of them have written not only questions but some observations, what they're facing the problem. So if you allow me for 2-3 minutes, I have those things and I put it to them in the form of PPT kind of thing. And if you have a small look on that, and then we go ahead. It's only very quickly, I hope I will be able to run them. If I am able to run them, let me see if I can run that. No, this is something else. Sorry, this is not this one. Not this one. So these people have, especially like a case of Maharashtra, they talked about that they don't allow the water to use until it spills, because even at the onset of the monsoon, when it's going to have a lot of water, because they don't have advanced information system that the dams are going to be filled up. So they only allow, and when it spills in too much of quantity. so that one cannot utilize. But if they start allowing the generation from the onset itself based on certain judgment, which normally hydropower people do that, but since they are irrigation dam, their main irrigation department is the owner, so they don't allow them. That's one part. Another thing, they also charge a capital, unnecessarily capital fees for using the dam, which is absolutely absurd. As Mr. Pant has mentioned in his this thing, that in one way central government is subsidizing, another way state government is putting a lot of but money making exercise from them without realizing that it helps the state in a big way rather than the central government. So that way has been, of course, the point of concern. But now I'd like to open the panel, please, if they like to speak, because I could see some questions. They also related to COVID, like post-COVID issues, how MNRE will have come up some kind of, or banks will come up some, or regulator will come up, and for that reason, all three are here. And so let them something say about it, please. Go ahead. Mr. Yadav, since you joined now, so if you like to say something, please go ahead.
Thank you, Professor Saab. First of all, my apologies for joining in late. There is a cabinet meeting which was scheduled at 12, and naturally, as an important ministry, we had to prepare, the material for our minister. So that took time, and my apologies for the same, because I had confirmed that I'll be joining this meeting. From the ministry's perspective, I think, first of all, my main concern is, although it's an extremely important sector for RE, but the platform for interaction between the industry and ministry is practically non-existent. If I see, on the other hand, the solar guys or the wind guys, they keep regular interaction, including in this time of COVID. In fact, I, as Joint Secretary of IT, am organizing regular meetings with the solar guys, with the wind guys. But unfortunately, this communication channel is missing for the small hydro sector. There are issues, there'll be issues in any sector. But when important stakeholders sit together, naturally, the issues get resolved. Most of the issues get resolved. So that's one. Now, I think specific issues are concerned. One is, we unfortunately this is slightly low in the hierarchy of the renewable, and several concerns are raised in several platforms, the official platforms. What is the role of the ministry? The divergent policies of the central ministries vis-a-vis the state ministry, state governments. So there are a number of issues. We've been trying to put in a scheme for the small hydro sector, I think now for more than 2.5 years. Unfortunately, the kind of confidence was not forthcoming. Again, based on the inputs received from the stakeholders, we revised the scheme, and we put in a form of EFC. That EFC is in a final stage now. I think that should be coming anytime. But another thing which I want to highlight is government has a perspective, industry has a perspective, and there may be, these may be different. I, as a joint secretary, am, it's not my job just to distribute money, because it's come as a subsidy. We are also taxpayers, and all taxpayers as individuals, we expect that the money, wherever it is going, will be used for a productive, it will be used in a leveraged way, so that the money, whatever money is being used. So I think the approach which we need to have towards subsidy, that it's a serious money, and it's our own money, the citizens' money. So it has to be, it has to have some effect. It should, in SHP, unfortunately, except for the subsidy existing in a perpetual way, it's not going, it's at least the confidence is not much that, this subsidy will gradually reduce. So subsidy will give rise to improvement in the system so that they'll be on their own after some time. So that concern is also being raised by a very high level, the finance ministry or the is all of us have perspective, like the somebody who's running a plant or trying to operate a plant or trying to let's say build a small hydro plant will have a perspective. His focus will be mainly the how can my plant go active or go live, how it is, how it can be executed in fastest possible way. Similarly, ministry also has a perspective. My perspective would be how do I best use the amount of money which I am giving to the industry. So and again focusing on this, the interaction, restoration of interaction is necessary for exchange of information, and including the issues. COVID, including during the times of COVID, we had a monthly meeting with solar industry, with secretary, with about 80 participants, most of them CEOs. We had a monthly meeting with wind, and both the industrialists, both the stakeholders, all the CEOs requested that they want to have a regular meeting every week. So again, today I am organizing a CEOs meeting for both wind and solar at 3. Now, that kind of, interaction, unfortunately, that kind of platform is missing. So these are the few things that I thought very briefly I could be able to give. I could listen to few of the questions because I came at the end. One is that we must be liberal in subsidy. Now the government schemes, all government schemes in whatever sector they are, has a life. It has a start point and end point. Now, unfortunately, this was in this scheme, even about a year back, we were distributing subsidy for 2009 scheme, which is 10 years old. So naturally, the delays, when the scheme gets over, the financial rules do not allow us to have the schemes open-ended. So it has to, that scheme duration can be longer, but all schemes are governed by the rules. Also, I think last presentation, Balram mentioned about off-grid solutions. So one is very small point, that presentation slide for off-grid. He was showing had number of poles in the background. So apparently it was, to me, it was no longer off. Secondly, officially all the villages in India are grid connected now. This is more than, I think, more than 1.5 years old story. So officially, at least the villages are all grid connected, and then there is very little scope for off-grid. So these are the few issues which I could listen to and respond.
Mr. Sharma, thank you very much. Mr. Sharma, like to respond to, yes, please.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Well, good to hear Yadav Saab. First, apologies in case the SHP sector has not been going there. We have been having meetings earlier, sir, regularly. But yes, off late, because of the certain schemes which were being revised by the state governments. Himachal has come up very well now. They have sorted out most of the issues. Uttarakhand is waiting clearances from the High Court. And Arunachal, we heard that there are a lot of projects which are likely to come up. We were mostly, one part is that we are all very remotely located, and sometimes it becomes difficult to come every month. But now with this kind of a technology, and as you say that you are taking it every week perhaps, or whatever timings you have, we'll request you to kindly enlist us that there are 2-3 associations. I'll put a word to all that we will be very regular and in meeting you and bringing the latest update what is happening. Today our worry is that whatever the projects are running must run next 6 months. Cash flow is one part, which of course through your good office, it will not be a loss to anybody, but if the units are running, then it can come back. but today we need a support from the plant suppliers. I heard that they are not in a position. They may refer their vendors to us because be held up just want of a quality spare part. And coming to the
Sir, if I just intervene, ministry during this COVID period
others
sir,
also.
Sir, can I intervene for a
Yeah,
moment?
please go ahead. Mr. Yadav, please go ahead.
Sir, ministry has issued number of advisories or instructions to the state government relating to renewable energy, and of course both large and small hydro is forming part of renewable energy. One is ministry has reiterated. I don't know whether those copies of, but these are in public domain. So
they are on the website also.
Yes, all renewable energy.
Okay.
Yeah, they are on the website also.
Yes, please.
All renewable energies are again reiterated as must run, including in the COVID shutdown period. So the states cannot or should not shut down these renewable energy. Second, renewable energy are also taken away from the payment that moratorium which Ministry of Power had declared. So we had written that since renewable form a small part of the overall energy bouquet, their payments must be regularly given to the generators. So we issued number of clarifications. We issued number of requests, like in case somebody's plant is stuck up, for example, solar panel things are stuck up at. So we requested the Ministry of Shipping and Ports to allow for longer period and all those things. About 8 or 9 instructions have been issued from the ministry on the renewable side, which covers, of course, the small hydro sector also. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Yes, please. Mr. Sharma, you'd like to say something more?
We will love to have the meetings with you, sir, on these updates, because now it is. Yes.
No, Mr. Sharma, these are things are being, circulated by even different renewable energy magazines, and also it's on the website of MNRE. So I think our small hydro developers, perhaps, first of all, they are not like our, the large solar companies or they have chief executives and they have different marketing people and they are different management people compared to others. Our small hydro is that way, is a smaller fraternity. But even in the end, since it's the money involved, there's a lot of stakes are involved, I would suggest that in the small hydro, especially the associations should take a very active part in such kind of follow-up and in such kind of dialogues and discussions, which Mr. Yadav has very clearly said. I know that the subsidies for the last 2-3 years going on is a matter, but until you keep on continuing a dialogue and that too collective dialogue, not an individual dialogue, because if when you speak as a association, then you speak for everybody, and when you speak everybody, the things are much better in a better shape. So I would say that's definitely a gap area, and which I think is a good point what you said, Mr. Sharma, that state government has come up with certain modification, like Jammu Kashmir has come up very recently and last month only a new policy on hydropower and renewable energy, which has been their cabinet has approved. Himachal has removed all the bottlenecks. Arunachal Pradesh, Mr. Joshi has presented that they are also coming up with something. Uttarakhand, you saying that they are going up. So the 3-4 major states, if they are coming up with all that thing, now it's a good time to go back to the MNRE for with those things, and wherever MNRE support is required, I think we should go ahead with that.
Certain. Thank you.
Just a minute. The issue about Karnataka was raised, and one is there are several states which have already reached their RPO compliance. They've done more than what their RPO is, which includes Karnataka. One is we written to all the states several times that RPO is a minimum, not it's not a ceiling. Secondly, we are also thinking in terms of providing them multiplier factor in case they do some something more than the RPO requirement. For example, if you are doing up to RPO, 100% of RPO, then it's REC is 1. If you do more than 100%, then REC gets a multiplier, let's say 1.5 times the REC or something. The other point which I wanted to highlight, which is extremely important for the entire RE sector, is that pumped hydro will be extremely important for the entire this thing. And whether in Karnataka or anywhere else, in case you can exploit the pumped hydro, in case you have sites which can be used as pumped hydro, even the higher tariff will make sense, because already bids have started coming, and the market has already been created. Hydro to support solar or wind. I mean, solar wind competition has already started, but pumped hydro make it more stable power. And so you would know where are the capacities of pumped hydro. So please start thinking in terms of developing pumped hydro. It's a huge requirement for RE sector.
And in fact, even a small hydro can also have pump by storage, 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt, 25 megawatt. I can see one case, actually it has come to my some kind of advisory from one Maharashtra project, of which is a 500 kilowatt project which they are running on a dam, and they want to build up a 1 megawatt pump storage, and because they are getting a good tariff. So there are some instances even in a small hydro case where pump storage can be a good thing, which Mr. Yadav mentioned, that pump storage is coming up because storage is the need of hour. Yesterday, you saw that 32,000 megawatt, actually 18,000 has been ramped up because of hydro only. So pump storage is one of the things which will coming up. Mr. Anand Kumar, what is
just a bit. All solar guys, all wind guys are desperately looking for pumped hydro, pumped storage. So in case you have, either you can contact them or somebody will be contacting.
Yes.
Because
Mr.
Please go on, sir.
Mr. Anand Kumar, you have some ideas about this. You heard about the regulatory commissions, Karnataka's things, and you also yourself said many things. So could you say something more now? Can you unmute, please? Unmute. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, sorry. Sorry. Yes, as you have pointed out that number one, the regulation part, I think there is no ambiguity in the regulation for the must-run status of all these renewable energy projects. So there is no curtailment. If some states are doing, then it is wrong, I think. That can be taken up with the forum of regulators, and we can, guide them that why this should be.
Sir, based on the force majeure condition, certain states like Punjab, MP and Andhra, these examples specifically came to us that they started curtailing, and will also said that we will not make payments. So we had to react to these situations, sir. I mean, it's not
but what I understand, there is, I think there is a banking also. There is a provision in the regulation for one banking. If that banking can be, accommodated for these developers, I'm not sure whether their regulations provided this or not. But yes, banking, at least check up. But yes,
banking, sir, banking has been restricted by most of the RE majors. So earlier, since the RE part was very small, so they were allowing banking in a very liberal way. Now with states, in Karnataka, there are some days where the entire power is from wind, or so. Now they are not allowing banking in that liberal way, because they say that the power is produced in a time, the wind or solar power is produced during months or during period when there is no demand, and they'll take back the power. They'll bank and take back the power when the state will be power deficit. So banking is being slowly restricted in most of the states, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So there is a need, as Mr. Yadav has also pointed out, there is a need of dialogue. Now, the dialogue between the developers and the government is okay, but dialogue between the government and the regulators is also, I think, missing. Since we have a forum of regulators, there all the chairmen of the commissions are there. So if Ministry of Power and Ministry of Renewable Energy they show their concern on some of the issues of specific to some regulator, then I think we can take a conscious view on that and try to sort it out. But yes, this post-COVID, I am also of this view that the regulator should start getting prepared themselves for making the guidelines to how to deal or some kind of impact of financial in nature for this wind, solar, or other projects. So this is my suggestion.
I would like to say, since we are running out of time, we are already 1:10. We have about received 20 questions, which I will not be able to read, and I would like to pass it on because they're all recorded. So I'll be able to take them out and I'll share with that. And if all of you permit, I can also share your presentations to among all that together, because we have email of everybody who has attended it, and then we'll also make some summary of the discussion, because two of my students also doing this work in their rooms who will be making some summary. And I have one or two guys have raised the questions. When one from Kashmir has come, so if you permit me, I will be asking him to speak. Mudassar?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yes, Mudassar, I'm allowing you to speak. So you are the only one who raised the hand at the moment. So you are allowed to speak now. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for organizing the meeting. My question is particularly on a few things, sir. I would like to, it's a multi-phase thing, so I would like to touch upon the issues, primarily because of COVID. Is there a possibility, I'm aware Mr. Chintan is not there, so I would request the ministry to consider, and for all of us to kind of put across a possibility of a financial modeling change of the tenure of loan, which was done for stressful assets, where the tenure was taken from 10 years to up to 15 years. Reason being,
you already, Mudassar, yeah, I am also holding charge of CMD of IRIDA, so I can respond in that.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, you know, we are no longer restricting our tenure of definitely of small hydro plants to 10 or 12 years. We go up to 18 years or 20 years also.
Thank you very much, sir. So that would surely help and facilitate, because these small term jerks will, because the way these 3-month sort of financial charges sort of pan out, then it's very difficult to recover over 3 months or 6 months, because we in J&K have seen that, particularly with a lot of turmoil and conditions going beyond us, that it takes a couple of years to sort of recover and get back on the cash flow, sir. So that's great that IREDA does it, but we would request a ministry intervention, even clarity for our bankers, which is typically J&K Bank in J&K, sir. So if
I think the major issue in Mudassar, the major issue in J&K and some of the northeastern states is their billing and collection efficiency. You know, I doubt whether the J&K's overall billing and collection efficiency is more than 50%.
I hear you, sir, but primarily most of the developers in J&K, we being one of the first ones, we are in open access, sir. So we are primarily right now in open access. So on the supply side, we're going to see a COVID hit, because the industries are going to slow down and everything else. But we're hoping another 2 to 3 months, once sort of it sort of backs up, we should be all right. So billing really, because we've been working with the power trading corporation, sir, and we've been working.
The ministry incidentally has also issued instructions regarding billing, regarding you know, billing based on the online meter reading, and in absence of the AMR through physical means, either last month's billing 80% or 90% of last month's billing, or same month last year's billing, some component of that. So we already issued instruction on how to do billing in these
Mr. Nanda, you have some question? You're raising your hand.
Yes, sir. On the similar lines, sir, this banking loan period, sir. as Mr. Mudassar pointed out, similarly, Himachal also, like Himachal Cooperative Bank or some other banks, they are not going beyond 15 years in many cases. So, sir, if it is there is a centralized policy from the government side to have a this enhanced period, because this is institution to institution, bank to bank, they are following their own norms, sir.
Sir, if I may say so, even the Ministry of Finance, which theoretically controls the entire financial sector, including banking sectors, do not come out with the commercial norms. So you have to give confidence to your bank or the financial institution that ultimately what they are looking at is whether you will be able to recover the money which is facility which is given to you. So the moment they have doubts, I'm sure there must be many developers in Himachal Pradesh who are having longer term tenure. Approach the financial institutions who give long term tenure. I mean, now there are all kinds of financial institutions. So give confidence to financial institution and they will consider. After all, financing is also a facility given to the project.
Mr. Dua, you have some quick question, or I have to close it after this?
My quick question is Mr. Yadav, and as a chairman of REDA, sir, I have a humble request that the NPAs in Himachal can be reduced to basically minimum level if MNRE gets a kind of planning to share some funding arrangement together with HP State Electricity Board or HP government for advancing of confirmed PPAs or supply portion of power units.
Sir, one thing I must clarify, all these facilities of either of IREDA or MNRE are not applicable to NPA projects because they are treated in a different way. Secondly, sorry, I didn't get what should ministry do for NPA projects?
So the ministry should jointly look at a funding package for advancing the power payments. That is like if 2 years payments, the supply will be made to HP State Electricity Board through a LC. So if the LC is available from Electricity Board or there's an advance LC available from as a PPA, so that PPA advance LC discounting facility can actually bail out 70% of the NPAs in Himachal.
Sir, LCA policy is applicable from, I think, August 2019. In fact, we are strictly monitoring all the states whether they are implementing that LC policy or not. And to our understanding, most states have been following this. So this is provided your PPA had the provision of LC. In case your PPA did not have the provision of LC, then some advance payment. So that's also part of the policy. If you see Ministry of Power's policy issued in August 2019, there are provisions. So ask your the Himachal utility to implement those policies, sir.
Okay, I think we have done enough today, and this was a first experience, especially for the small hydro people, to come together from far east to Itanagar, and then from this side, Shimla, and then now from Srinagar, Mudassar is there. Then we have in southern, we have Bangalore from Gujjar, Mr. Gujjar, and then Anand from Ahmedabad, and it's Hyderabad from Mr. Nanda. And Mr. Sharma is from, so, and of course key fellows from ministry, and then IREDA. So I would like to say thank you very much. It has been, for me, it was a wonderful experience, and it was a good, I like to say, learning, because I never did it earlier in my life. It's only on the 22nd of this, when I had a water-based this webinar, then I got an idea that can we do it. And I like to thank Mr. Yadav or Mr. Pant, both of them. Then they encouraged me, please go ahead, because I would like to ask first them. So, and both of them very readily agreed, Kijay, please go ahead. And then, of course, Mr. Sharma and others, and all of you have been very kind that you had sent me something, and I'm sure that this kind of meeting we will do it now regularly. I would like to say that my experience with the recent visit to USA was that their associations even go and present before the parliamentary committees. You know, that kind of penetration, and they also go and talk to the regulatory commissions. Here in India, the associations are only, and they are professional, they hire professionals, not only the owner. So they make a good combined people, and that is the way they are able to herd. And once they will be able to herd, there will be their things also will be, you know, taken care. So my suggestion to all hydro sector, we need to talk very strongly.
Sir,
yes, please go ahead.
Whether MNRE is concerned, it's always open and very open and to listen to stakeholders. In case somebody wants to make a presentation to the parliamentary committees, which I am concerned, the ministry is concerned with, I can definitely put in a word to the chairman and request him. I mean,
yes.
These are not difficult things, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that once we the associations, the role of the associations, they also hire professionals to be a part of the, and then they do the quite you know, full timers, and they are able to speak much nicely in that sense. Okay, it's not coming. Maybe my voice may be cracking because could region. So I will not be able to take much many people. Oh, okay. And now I will not be able to take many, but my idea is this, this is the way we should start. And now this given a good opportunity that we can assemble at a short notice without big time, and we can do rather instead of 2 hours, we can do 1.5 hour, 1 hour meeting also with maybe 10 people. So with this opportunity, which we learned today, and I would like to certainly share, and I like to also bring that gist of that what has been there. I'm sorry, my all participants who are attended this thing, that I will not be able to take the question because in a larger way. But I think we already shot over them more than 20 minutes, and we will be certainly passing on these questions to all these panelists. And because these areas which Mr. Balram has mentioned is a kinetic energy, which is an emerging area. Even the small projects like water supply and sewage treatment, they are 5 kilowatt, 10 kilowatts, 20 kilowatt kind of projects also are the area where you know, these things requires to be done. But pump storage is certainly a very good area. I'd like to take call on all small hydro fraternity that they should not only think that pump storage is a large. I've seen in my career, I've seen a 2 megawatt pump storage scheme in Iran. I have seen a 7 megawatt scheme in Norway. So there are a lot of opportunities for small hydro also in pump storage, and pump storage is certainly a good revenue stream because it assures you the power. So with this, if anybody want to say anything, otherwise I have to say big thank you. Mr. Gujar, yes, please.
I should congratulate you. Thank you for conducting a national seminar or webinar on this subject, the first of it in the year, financial year 2020-21.
All right, and thank you very much, and I'll share everything, and maybe my colleagues might have taken some photo shots also. So I'll be sharing in a few days' time, because I requested 2 of my PhD students, who one is in Haridwar and one is somewhere else somewhere. They are not in campus also. So let me see what input they gave me, and I'd like to again thank all of you for such readiness for doing this thing. Okay, we'll close the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.